So how can you improve your ACT score 12 points on the 2020 ACT exam? There's a few things that I did when I tried to improve my ACT score from a 21 all the way up to a high 30s score. And I'm going to share with you the strategies that I used, what things you should do, what things you really should not do, and what things can really expedite the process in terms of improving your score as fast as possible. What's up guys, my name is Shahir Mirza. I'm a tutor here at 5 Academy, and I want to show you the approach that we recommend students to use in terms of improving your score as fast as possible. So the way we like to approach the ACT exam, we break the four sections that you have, into two different parts. So you go from 4 to 2, right? The first two sections that we like to focus on are English and math. The reason we pair these two together is because they are very, very similar. They test you in a very similar way. And what is that way that they test you in? They are very skill heavy. You kind of just have to know all the English and math skills that are being tested in the English and math sections of the ACT. So how do you go about learning these skills? That's really the main game about improving your English or math score. And again, how do you go about learning those skills? So one thing that you could do that a lot of students try to do, it takes a bit of time, but it does work if you really put a lot of time and a lot of practice into it, is you just sit down and you take a ton of practice exams and really look at each mistake that you're making, all the questions that you're getting wrong, all the questions that you had trouble with, and try to understand what you're doing wrong and what the skill behind each question is. The more you can do this, the more you can understand what mistakes you're making and why you're making them and how you can fill those mistakes in those skill gaps, the more improvement you'll make. You'll have to understand that the difference between your score and a 36 is just those skills that you're struggling with. These are the mistakes that you're making. So the more you try to understand those mistakes, the closer and closer you'll get. And that's what we've seen students really improving with our courses, and obviously with myself as well when I improve my ACT scores. So for English and math, take at least a dozen or a dozen and a half practice exams. You can find 6 for free in the description below. A lot of students take them and they find improvement with that. Make sure that you use the timing and everything, but make the most of them and really put emphasis on trying to learn from your weaknesses and learning from your mistakes. If you see a problem that you got wrong, try to sit down and look at it and say, okay, what did I do wrong? What's the correct answer? Why is it correct? Perhaps write down the skill, record all the problems that you're getting wrong so you can maybe see patterns in the type of things that you're struggling with. And you might notice that after maybe 6 or 10 practice exams, you're really getting the same things wrong each time, and you can try to learn from that. One thing that you can actually do to expedite the process of learning the skills and kind of overcome any skills that you are really struggling with is sit down and do this exercise of learning from mistakes. Do it with other people, do it with your peers, with students. It'll help you overcome those skills because your friends might be good at certain skills that you're struggling with, and you might be good at certain skills that they're struggling with. You can help each other out in that sense. Group studying is really good in this sort of application. So that's one approach for English and math, and I'll get to a faster approach towards the end of the video. But first, let's talk about reading and science. So how do you go about improving your reading and science score as fast as possible? For me personally, I started in the high teens on reading and science, and I ended up in the 30s for both. So I improved 15 points in both reading and science. And how exactly do you go about doing this? You need to use our passage glancing or skimming strategy for both reading and for science. Because when it comes to reading and science, all it's testing you is your ability to read a passage really quickly and then answer questions about it as fast as possible. It's really just a speed game, how well you can pick up information and how well you can re-report it as you answer questions about the information. So what is passage glancing? I've made a lot of videos about this already, but I'm going to summarize it here. You're basically going to read through the passage like it's a regular passage, except you're going to change a few things. You're going to go so fast that you're only going to really glance through the passage. So you're going to be going really quickly, kind of try to underline with your finger as you're going through. And then also make sure that you don't try to take in all the little details in the passage. There's going to be a lot of details. You want to just get the basic gist, the general understanding of what's going on. So the general understanding, as well as an understanding of where the main ideas are in the passage. So for example, in a typical reading passage, you'll find a number of paragraphs. So with each paragraph, you should have a general idea of what's happening in that paragraph. So you should know what paragraph 1 is talking about, what paragraph 2 is talking about, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it is. And get a general understanding of the organization of the ideas in the passage, because at the end of the day, regardless of whether you read in depth or you passage glance or you skim or whatever, you're going to have to come back from the questions to the passage to understand and correctly answer some of the questions. That's just going to happen. And if you understand where the main ideas are in the passage, then that'll help you do this process of coming back between the questions and the passage. It'll make that process a bit faster. So come away with the general understanding, because you're always going to be asked about that, and come away with the organization of the passage. Also, there are a couple different things that you should be looking out for when it comes to reading and science passages. And for science, the same thing applies as reading. You're just, instead of looking at passages, you're looking at pictures and diagrams. So understand what each experiment, each viewpoint, each graph is talking about It's the same thing. And then how do you go about improving your reading and science score? Well, you just have to practice that process again and again and again. Now, I did mention a process for English and math that can expedite your improvement a bit more. And this applies for reading and science as well. There's a way to expedite that improvement a bit more. And that's by really learning and mastering all the skills and problem types that you're going to see on the ACT exam. There are 134 skills that we have identified. These are actually straight from the ACT's official prep guide. That the ACT prep guide has identified as skills that you will see on the ACT exam. And if you can master these skills, understand them, get used to the problem types that are associated with each skill, then you're putting yourself in a much better position to get these questions right every time. Now, I'm not going to sit here and plug my courses because we do provide courses to students that help expedite this process a lot more. But if you're interested, there are online problem sets that we have for each of the skills on the ACT exam. And if you're interested in checking those out, you can get started with those for free below. Just as a summary of what you can do to improve your ACT score as much as I did and as quickly as possible, you take a bunch of practice exams, maybe 12 to 18 at least, and you really hone in on your strategies and find the best way to approach each section and learn from it as you practice. The other method is to use our online tutoring mixed with our problem sets, mixed with our 60+ strategies. If you're interested in that, that can help you improve a lot faster. But if you choose to do the work on your own and take much more time, then that's up to you. But I'll leave you guys with that. If you're interested in any free prep tutoring, then you can check that out with the link below as well. I'm going to leave a lot of links below to free content, paid content, whatever it is. But I'm trying to help you guys in this weird time that we're in. And obviously on the 2020 and the coming 2021 ACT exam that you're going to be seeing that has section retakes and whatnot. So I'll leave you guys with that. I hope this video is helpful. Again, it just comes down to practicing and learning from your mistakes and doing the most that you possibly can with that approach. That's about it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. There are free practice exams linked below as well. And I'll leave you guys with that. Peace.